Dust exploded from the ground as 5 riders thundered over the ridge, their silhouettes sharp against the burning afternoon sun. Silas Renan didn't flinch. He simply tightened the leather strap on his old horse's saddle, pretending not to notice the cloud of trouble racing straight toward him. But he heard them hooves pounding like war drums, voices barking orders, metal clanking with impatience. The lead rider, Von Decker, yanked his horse to a harsh stop so close that gravel sprayed across Silas's boots. "Thought we made ourselves clear yesterday," Von growled. "You've got until sundown to leave this land." Silas didn't lift his head. "This land's been mine longer than you've been alive." The rest of the gang spread out, tightening the circle. One rider kicked over Silas's water bucket. Another spat at the dirt near his feet. Their intimidation wasn't subtle. They wanted him scared. They wanted him desperate. But Silas kept working like they weren't even there. That calm, that strange and quiet defiance, made Von's eye twitch. "You deaf, old man?" Von snapped. "We're taking this land. You leave now, or we make you leave." Still no answer. Silas finally picked up his tools, walked past them, and headed for his cabin. The gang followed, jeering and mocking with every step. Then they saw it. The laughing stopped mid-breath. Carved deep into the wooden doorframe of Silas's cabin was a symbol-sharp lines, woven shapes, ancient geometry. A mark that seemed to pulse even in the still air. Von stared at it, lips parting, the color draining from his face. "No," he muttered. That's Cherokee." One of the riders swallowed hard. "The protection sigil, isn't it?" Silas paused in the doorway, finally meeting their eyes. "My wife carved it years ago," he said softly. "Said it'd keep danger away." The gang exchanged nervous looks. Every local knew what the symbol meant. Crossing a protected threshold didn't just break a rule, it invoked the tribe itself. And the Cherokee were not known for forgiving trespassers. But Von, desperate to hold on to his authority, forced a scoff. "Old superstition," he said, though his voice cracked. "A mark won't save you." Silas didn't answer. He didn't have to. From the distant tree line came a single echo like a hawk's cry, sharp and deliberate. Every rider froze. They knew that sound. And they knew who made it. The riders stiffened as the piercing cry echoed again, this time closer, much closer. The sound rolled across Silas's land like a warning carried by the wind, settling into the bones of every man in Von's gang. Horses stamped nervously, tossing their heads, sensing what their riders refused to acknowledge aloud. Silas stood calm on his porch, one hand resting near the carved Cherokee mark as though he were greeting an old friend. His eyes, however, remained fixed on the tree line behind the gang. He didn't smile, didn't gloat, just waited. And that quiet waiting unnerved Von more than the cry itself. "Spread out," Von snapped, though his voice held more fear than command. Probably just a bird, but none of the men obeyed. Their attention was glued to the thick line of oaks swaying far more than the gentle breeze should allow. Branches rustled as though something pressed through them, no many somethings. Heavy, deliberate footfalls thudded beneath the canopy. Shapes flickered between the trunks, indistinct but undeniably human. "Von," one rider whispered, leaning closer. "We were told not to touch anything marked Cherokee." "You were told a lot of nonsense," Von hissed. "Superstitions to scare off idiots." Yet his hand hovered near his holster, indecisive, the worst sign of all. A figure stepped into view between 2 oaks, just a silhouette at first, tall, still, watching. Then another figure appeared. Then 2 more, each carrying long boughs, their feathers catching the light like thin slashes of white fire. The riders saw enough to understand exactly who stood there. Cherokee scouts, a rider breathed. The air seemed to thicken, the world shrinking, to the stretch of dirt between the gang and the advancing figures. The scouts didn't move closer. They simply stood guard, as if announcing that the land was no longer defenseless. "You summoned them," Vaughn said sharply, turning toward Silas. "How? How'd you contact them so fast?" "I didn't," Silas replied. "They always watch their marks." "Always have." As if on cue, one scout raised his hand, palm outward, an unmistakable signal: stand down or be dealt with. The gang's formation wavered instantly. Even Vaughn's horse took a step back. Panic rippled through them like electricity. These weren't hired guns. These were warriors bound by oath, culture, and sacred tradition. Men who did not bluff. Vaughn clenched his jaw. "We're not leaving." Not yet, but the tremor in his voice betrayed everything. Silas looked past him to the trees again. More shadows were gathering. A reckoning was walking straight toward them. The forest parted with slow, deliberate intention. Not a charge, not an ambush, something far more unsettling. The Cherokee warriors emerged one by one, silent as nightfall, yet carrying the presence of the storm. Their braided hair, eagle feather ornaments, and dark leather garments contrasted sharply against the pale light of the dust-filled air. The riders instinctively backed up, but the warriors didn't advance. They simply formed a line, a living wall, each man holding either a carved bow or a short-bladed hatchet. At their center walked a much older figure, taller, heavier, wrapped in a deep red mantle, decorated with patterns that looked as old as the soil itself. Silas felt his breath tighten. He hadn't expected him. Dakota, chief of the Crimson Ridge, Cherokee. He stopped several paces away from Silas's porch, lowering his head with solemn respect. "Brother," Dakota said. "We saw the mark disturbed." Silas nodded. "Not by my doing." Dakota shifted his attention toward Vaughn's gang, who now looked like boys pretending at manhood. Even Vaughn himself seemed smaller under the chief's gaze, his bravado bleeding out through the cracks in his thinning courage. "Who among you touched what is sacred?" Dakota asked calmly. No one answered. Not because they were loyal to one another, but because fear had sealed their throats shut. Sweat trickled down faces suddenly pale. Horses sidestepped and snorted anxiously. Dakota raised his voice slightly. 5 riders came onto the land of a man under our protection. They threatened him. They sought to take what is his by right and promise. If this is untrue, speak. Finally, Vaughn found his voice. "We didn't know he was connected." "You knew the mark," Dakota replied. "Ignorance is not your refuge." Vaughn tried to straighten up. "Look, nobody got hurt. We can just leave." Dakota stepped forward, and instantly 3 warriors mirrored him like reflections. "You trespassed on a protected home. You threatened blood. You dishonored the memory of the woman who carved that symbol." Silas swallowed hard, hearing the mention of Alara, his late wife, spoken with such weight. Dakota continued, "And now the price must be paid, so this land remains in balance." Vaughn's jaw tightened. What price?" A long silence. Then Dakota pointed at the ground before them. "You will be judged by the tribe, not by your guns, not by your threats, but by your actions. And you will repair what you damaged." Several riders trembled visibly. "And," Dakota added with the finality of a falling axe, "you will speak the truth of this offense at every trading post, so all know the weight of shame." A ripple of panic spread through the gang. Dakota didn't threaten them. He sentenced them. The wind dropped to a dead, eerie stillness after Dakota delivered his judgment. It felt as though the world itself was holding its breath, waiting to see whether Vaughn's gang would obey or choose the foolish path. The riders shifted uneasily in their saddles, lancing between Silas's cabin, the warriors, and their increasingly panicked leader. Silas watched with a heavy calm. He wasn't eager for vengeance, only for safety. But he knew better than anyone that once the Cherokee declared a verdict, no force on earth could undo it. Not bullets, not threats, not stubborn pride. Vaughn rubbed the back of his neck, clearly rattled. He opened his mouth to argue, then shut it again when he saw the line of warriors tighten. Even the horses began to sense the danger. One reared slightly before its rider yanked the reins down. Let's just ride out of here," one of Vaughn's men whispered. "They can't chase all of us." Dakota didn't have to say anything. His raised eyebrow alone made the man shrink. "You will not leave," the chief said, his tone low but carrying across the open field like a command written in stone. "You will face the balance you disturbed." Vaughn spat into the dirt, desperate to reclaim some authority. "What if we refuse?" "Huh, you'll kill us? That it?" One of the warriors stepped forward at that, his expression unreadable. "We do not harm without cause. But if you flee justice, then your fear becomes your punishment." Another cry echoed from the forest, short, sharp, unmistakably a signal. More warriors appeared. Not in a formation, not in a show of intimidation. They arrived the way a tide advances, silently, unstoppably, filling every open space until the gang was completely surrounded. Vaughn's bravado crumbled. The men exchanged looks of dread as the circle tightened. Silas could feel the tension like a pulse in the air. This wasn't violence, it was a reminder that the Cherokee didn't need bullets to hold power. Their unity alone was enough. Dakota crossed his arms. "The land remembers every step taken upon it. Today, it remembers yours. And so will every traveler who hears the truth at the trading posts." The gang's shoulders slumped. Their fate was sealed, and they all knew it. But something else stirred in Silas, a flicker of memory, sharp enough to sting. Alara, his wife, carving the mark on their door with her gentle hands. "It's not just protection," she had told him. "It's a promise, a bond. If anything happens to you, my people will come." He had believed her, of course, but he had never imagined this. The warriors moved again, shifting their formation, making space in the center. Dakota pointed to the ground. "Dismount." Nobody moved. Then Dakota gave a single nod. In an instant, the warriors raised their bows, not aiming to kill, but to remind. Arrows pointed at their boots, their reins, their stirrups. The message was unmistakable. Comply, or the next signal will not be a warning. Vaughn exhaled shakily. The riders stood in a loose, frightened cluster, their horses held by Cherokee warriors who guided the animals with calm precision. Vaughn towered over his men, but his confidence had evaporated. Sweat streaked down his temples despite the cooling air, and his eyes darted constantly between Dakota and the tree line, as if hoping for an escape that didn't exist. Dakota's voice cut through the silence. "You damaged the home of a man protected by our tribe. You threatened his life. You attempted to take what was not yours. These offenses demand restoration." One of Vaughn's men groaned softly. "We didn't even touch the cabin, just tried to scare him a little." Silas finally spoke. "A little?" He stepped forward, boots hitting the porch steps with steady weight. "You fired near my barn. You rode your horses through my irrigation line. You broke my fence. You scared my animals into the hills." His tone didn't rise, didn't shake. It didn't need to. Every word landed like a stone dropped into still water. Dakota nodded. "You will begin by repairing the land you harmed." The warriors handed the gang small bundles of tools, axes, rope, wooden posts, leather gloves worn thin from years of use. Vaughn stared at the items as if they were foreign objects. "You expect us to fix his busted fence?" he said, incredulous. "Yes," Dakota answered simply. "By your hands the harm was done. By your hands it will be undone. Silas folded his arms. And you'll do it right. You break something, you fix it. The warriors split the gang into pairs, guiding them toward the damaged sections along the property. Their protests faded quickly under the silent presence of the Cherokee. Every misstep was met with a watchful gaze. Every sloppy repair earned a quiet correction. As they worked, the Cherokee formed a wide perimeter, ensuring no one wandered. They weren't guards. They were witnesses ensuring balance, upholding the pact. Silas stood beside Dakota, watching the repairs unfold. The chief's expression was unreadable, but there was a softness around his eyes that Silas remembered from long ago. "You came because of her," Silas said quietly. Dakota nodded. "Alara was our sister. Her bond to you became ours." Silas swallowed, his throat tightening. "It's been years. I didn't expect anyone to still honor that." Dakota placed a hand over his chest. "We honor all who keep their word. She loved you. That alone commanded our loyalty." Silas looked away, blinking hard. Meanwhile, Vaughn slammed a post into the ground, panting with frustration. "This is ridiculous. We're doing farm chores." A nearby warrior glanced at him. "Restoring what you broke is not a chore. It is justice." The sun dipped lower as the gang worked, sweat soaking their shirts, hands blistering. Not one dared attempt escape. The Cherokee didn't need to threaten, they simply existed, unmovable, unshakable, a force older than every man standing there. By late afternoon, the field shimmered with heat, a wavering haze floating above the ground as Vaughn's gang continued their forced labor. Every man was drenched in sweat, shirts sticking to their backs, hands smeared with dirt and splinters. The once broken fence now stood straight and long, unbroken lines ragged in places, but functional. And more importantly, built by those who had shattered it. Silas watched quietly from beneath the shade of a tall pine. A mix of emotions warred inside him. Satisfaction, yes, because justice was finally served. But also a twinge of pity. These were grown men who had lived by intimidation their whole lives. Now they were being humbled in the most painful way possible, through honest work. Dakota approached him, moving with the calm, deliberate grace of a man shaped by tradition. "The work goes well," he noted. "But this is only the first part." Silas nodded slowly. "The telling of the tale?" Dakota's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, their shame must travel farther than their footsteps. A lesson unspoken is a lesson soon repeated." In the distance, Vaughn drove a final stake into the ground, then leaned heavily on it, chest heaving. The other riders were in similar states, barely standing, gasping for breath. Their horses grazed quietly nearby, guarded by two Cherokee scouts who didn't look away even once. One of Vaughn's men muttered, "We fixed the damn fence. Isn't that enough?" A warrior beside him simply shook his head. "No." A sudden gust of wind rippled across the field. The air shifted. Birds scattered from the treetops. The Cherokee sensed something before even Silas caught it, one of those subtle moments where nature itself seemed to lean in. Dakota turned toward the cabin. "It is time." He gestured for the gang to gather in the center of the field. The riders trudged reluctantly into formation, shoulders slumped, eyes bleak. They looked like prisoners awaiting a verdict they already knew. Dakota faced them with calm authority. "You have repaired the damage you caused, but your threats traveled farther than broken wood. You whispered fear into this land. Such poison must be drawn out." Vaughn clenched his fists, jaw tight. "And what exactly does that mean?" Dakota lifted his chin. "You will speak the truth of your wrongdoing at the trading posts. You will declare your shame publicly. And you will name Silas Renan as the man you wronged." A murmur of outrage rippled through the gang. "No way. You can't make us. This is humiliating." Dakota held up a single hand. Silence fell instantly. You carried pride into this land. Now you will carry humility. Silas felt the weight of those words settle like dust on his shoulders. He had never asked for such a punishment, but he understood it. Out here, reputation was everything. Humiliation traveled faster than wildfire. For Vaughn's gang, this was a sentence worse than jail. The sun dipped lower, turning the sky a burnished gold as Dakota prepared the next stage of judgment. Silas remained on the edge of the clearing while the warriors guided the gang toward a long, wooden bench near the cabin a place Alara once used to dry herbs. Now it served a different purpose, a place where truth would be extracted. Vaughn scowled as he was seated, arms crossed like a rebellious schoolboy. The others sat more reluctantly, their bodies sagging with exhaustion. Their earlier bravado had faded, replaced with a hollow silence. Dakota stood before them, his shadow long and unwavering. He carried no weapon, none were needed. His authority alone commanded obedience. In Cherokee law, he said, a wrong must be spoken aloud to lose its power. A lie hidden rots the spirit, but a truth admitted cleanses the ground. He pointed to the first rider, a younger man with freckles and shaking hands. You will speak. The man swallowed. Speak what? What you did. Why you came. And why it was wrong. The rider looked at his boots, humiliation burning through him. After several long seconds, he rasped, we came to force the old man off his land. Vaughn said it'd be easy. Dakota nodded once. Continue. And I shouldn't have come. We shouldn't have threatened him. It wasn't our right. His voice cracked on the last word. The Cherokee did not react. They simply let the confession hang in the air, settling into the dirt like a fallen leaf. The next rider was called. Then the next. Each repeated some variation of the truth, some reluctantly, some with tears of frustration, some with anger choked down by fear. But every confession chipped away at the arrogance they had carried here. Finally, only Vaughn remained. Silas watched him closely. Out of all of them, Vaughn was the most prideful. The one who could spark another conflict if pushed wrong. The one whose confession mattered most. Dakota stepped in front of him. Speak. Vaughn lifted his chin. No. A quiet ripple passed through the warriors, like a subtle shift in the wind. Dakota remained unmoved. You will speak. Vaughn's jaw tightened. I don't regret a damn thing. This land's worth money. He wasn't using it right. I was taking an opportunity. That's all. Silas exhaled slowly. So this was the truth hidden beneath Vaughn's anger, pure greed. No vendetta. No principle. Just a man who wanted more than he earned. Dakota regarded Vaughn with sharp, piercing eyes. Then say it plainly. Speak the greed you hide. A long, tense pause. And finally, through gritted teeth, Vaughn forced the words out. I wanted the land. For myself. And I didn't care who I had to hurt to get it. Silas felt those words like a stone thrown into his chest. But he also felt something else, closure. Vaughn had never spoken honestly before. Not once. Dakota nodded. The truth is spoken. The shame begins. The warriors stepped back, forming a path leading to the forest. The night faded slowly, into a pale gray morning as the riders sat around the dying fire, barely able to lift their heads. None of them had slept. The weight of Dakota's judgment hung over them like a thick fog. Every crackle of the remaining embers sounded like another reminder of what was coming. Dakota stepped into the circle without warning. His presence alone forced the riders upright. You will walk at first light, he said. Your words will be your burden. His calm tone made the sentence even heavier. Silas watched from the porch, arms folded, face unreadable. The Cherokee mark behind him still caught the weak morning light, a quiet reminder of why the warriors were here. Vaughn met Silas's gaze for a moment, then quickly looked away. The man who once rode with swagger now struggled to keep his shoulders from trembling. The riders were ordered to repair the last of the damage before leaving. Their movements were clumsy, slowed by exhaustion and dread. Silas walked over and silently handed one of them a tool. No anger, no pride. Just a simple message: finish it. Dakota inspected their work with a slow, deliberate nod. "It is enough," he said. The riders exchanged anxious glances. They knew the hardest part still lay ahead. When the sun finally broke over the hills, Dakota motioned for them to line up. Warriors formed around them like a living wall. Vaughn swallowed hard. "We really doing this?" he asked under his breath. "Yes," Dakota replied. "Truth must be carried." Silas stepped closer. "You'll head to Red Hollow first. People gather early there." His voice wasn't cruel, just firm. Final. The riders turned toward the trail, fear tightening every step. The warriors followed in steady silence. And as they crossed the edge of Silas's land, Vaughn allowed himself one last look back. Silas stood with the rising sun behind him, calm and unmoving. There was no malice in the old man's expression, only the quiet weight of justice. Hours passed, marked only by the occasional pop of the firewood and the steady breathing of the warriors on watch. The moon had risen high, bathing the field in pale silver light. The riders looked smaller, now shrunken by exhaustion, by fear, by the oppressive presence of responsibility they had never felt before. Silas remained awake, though his body longed for rest. Something told him this night wasn't meant to be easy for anyone, not even him. He moved quietly across the porch and settled on a wooden chair, eyes drifting toward the fire. One of the riders finally broke the silence. "I can't do this," he whispered hoarsely. His voice cracked, trembling under years of bravado collapsing at once. "I can't go to the trading posts. People will laugh us out of the county." Another rider hissed, "Better laughter than retaliation. They'll follow us if we lie." You saw the way they appeared like shadows coming alive. Vaughn stared into the flames, face tense, shadows dancing across the hard lines of his jaw. "You're all acting like children," he muttered, though even he sounded drained. "We'll give the speech. It's just words. You didn't say any of it like you meant it," one rider snapped back. "You still think you're in the right." Silas listened closely, surprised at the sudden honesty among the group. Conflict within a gang wasn't unusual, but this was different. This was guilt trying to claw its way out. Dakota, seated across the clearing, finally rose and walked toward them. Every warrior shifted with him, but not aggressively, more like a wave following a moon's pull. Dakota stopped at the edge of the firelight. "Words shape the world around you," he said. "If you speak them without truth, they break. If you speak them with honesty, they heal." Vaughn scoffed. "Easy for you to say." Dakota approached him slowly, and the fire lit his face with a warm orange glow. "You believe shame is your enemy. You are wrong. Shame is your guide when you have lost your way." Silas watched Vaughn's eyes flicker. The man was fighting something internal: pride, most likely. Pride was poison when a man had nothing else left. "You think we're evil?" Vaughn muttered, not lifting his head. Dakota knelt so he was level with him. "No, I think you are lost." The clearing fell still. "You want land, wealth, control." Dakota continued, voice soft but unyielding. "But you take without understanding the cost. That is the path of a man who does not know himself." Vaughn's throat bobbed. He blinked rapidly, as if something inside him cracked. Silas noticed. Everyone noticed. The flames snapped loudly, as if emphasizing the moment. Dakota stood, addressing all 5 riders. "Tonight, you sit in the presence of the spirits of this land. They see your hearts clearly. Some of you feel fear. Some feel regret. Some feel anger. But all of you feel truth beginning to seep in. None of the riders argued. Dakota's voice dropped to a low, resonant tone. Dawn rolled over the hills in soft layers of gold, touching Silas's ranch with the kind of quiet that follows a long storm. The riders had barely slept. Their faces were pale, hollow, stripped of the arrogance they carried just a day earlier. Even their horses sensed the tension, stamping the ground as the morning air cooled. Dakota stepped into the clearing as the sun climbed higher, his presence instantly commanding. "It is time," he said, his voice cutting through the silence. "Stand." The riders obeyed without argument. Vaughn rose the slowest, rubbing a hand across his face, looking like a man bracing for a weight he could no longer push away. Silas stepped off the porch and approached them with a steady, measured stride. "You'll head east first," Silas told them. Red Hollow Trading Post. Folks gather early there. His tone wasn't cruel, just final. One of the younger riders swallowed hard. "Everyone's gonna hear it." Silas didn't soften. "That's the point." Dakota motioned for the warriors to form a loose line around the gang. Not close enough to threaten, just close enough to remind them the judgment was real. The procession began moving across the field, boots crunching on frost-touched grass. Silas watched them go, feeling a strange ache in his chest. Justice mattered, but watching broken men walk toward their humiliation carried its own heaviness. As they neared the edge of the woods, Vaughn turned back. For the first time, there was no hatred in his eyes, only recognition. Silas gave a small nod. Vaughn hesitated, then returned the gesture before disappearing into the trees. The trail to Red Hollow stretched long and winding, lined with tall grass whispering in the breeze. Birds darted overhead. The riders walked in silence, feeling the land pressing around them, not as something to claim, but as something ancient that remembered every step, every trespass. Dakota walked at the front, expression unreadable. "When you speak," he said, not turning, "speak truth. Truth carries farther than pride." "No lies," one rider muttered, voice cracking. The group reached the dusty road leading into Red Hollow. The trading post was waking to life, voices, clattering crates, early shoppers moving between wagons. As the riders came into view, escorted by Cherokee warriors, conversations died mid-sentence. Heads turned. The air grew still. Fear tightened the riders' shoulders. This was the moment they had dreaded. Dakota raised his hand for silence. "It is time," he said. The Red Hollow Trading Post was already alive with noise when the riders stepped into the open square. Merchants unpacked crates, travelers ate breakfast on wooden benches, and farmers argued over prices. But the moment Vaughn's gang appeared flanked by Cherokee warriors, the entire post froze. Conversations cut off. A few men stood from their seats. Women pulled children closer. The sight was impossible to ignore. 5 beaten, exhausted riders escorted like prisoners by warriors whose presence radiated ancient authority. Dakota stepped forward, lifting a hand. Silence fell instantly. "These men will speak their truth," he said. "You will listen." The youngest rider was pushed gently toward the front. His hands trembled so badly he had to clench them into fists. We trespassed on Silas Brennan's land," he said, voice cracking. "We broke his fence, scared his animals, and threatened him." A ripple of murmurs rolled through the crowd. Another rider stepped forward, then another. Each confession was worse than the last. Pride drained from them with every word. Dust floated in the still morning air as if the land itself were holding its breath. Finally, Vaughn moved ahead. People leaned in. Everyone knew him, some feared him, some respected him. Others watched him with the kind of fascination reserved for men who lived too close to the edge. Vaughn removed his hat slowly. "I went after Silas's land," he said. "I wanted it. Didn't care who I hurt." he swallowed. Told my men it was just business. But it was greed. And stupidity. His voice wavered, but he didn't stop. I thought a man alone was a man I could break. He lifted his eyes, meeting the crowd's gaze. I was wrong. Silence followed heavy, undeniable. Dakota stepped beside him. Truth has been carried, he declared. The debt is closed. The warriors bowed their heads in a single solemn gesture, then stepped back. The crowd didn't cheer, didn't mock, no one dared. The moment was too raw, too real. The riders turned and walked away from the trading post. Their reputations shattered, but their burden lifted. The Cherokee did not follow them. The lesson had already been delivered. Dakota and his warriors began the quiet journey back towards Silas's ranch. When they emerged from the trail, Silas was already waiting on the porch. Dakota placed a hand over his heart. Balance restored. Silas nodded, feeling the truth of the words in his chest. Thanks to all of you. No, Dakota said. Thanks to the bond Alara made. You were never alone. The warriors departed, fading into the landscapes as softly as they had appeared. Silas watched them until the last shadow vanished beyond the hills. Peace settled over the ranch, deep, steady, final. The Cherokee mark on his door caught the sunlight, not as a warning, but as a promise. Silas stepped inside his home, the land quiet and whole once more. He was alone, but he would never be unprotected again.